So look, afternoon, morning, everyone. So we'll see evening, even if we have some Eastern latecomers. I wanted to talk to you about faster marketing thinking and slower use of flawed research. I think 20 minutes time. I hope that you will be feeling like at least you've got the Bluffer's Guide to Behavioral Economics and a kind of sense of the literature and everything involved. Okay, so let us kick off. So basically, I think I suspect all of us here, all of us listening, have a notion of the left brain, right brain model of kind of human decision making. I mean, whether it's explicit or just implicit, it's sort of been around at the heart of our understanding of people. Yeah, the emotional, the rational, the left brain, right brain. And because the brains are, in halves, we kind of assume they're equal. Yeah, that's sort of been the assumption. So whether it's in developing concepts where you have insight, benefit, and reason to believe, which by definition has a nice left brain, right brain kind of composite feel to it, or whether it's advertising, where if I had to summarize the whole of communication theory, apologies for the simplifying, it's a fist of a brand proposition, the USP, wrapped in a velvet glove of emotion, where emotion is the engagement, it's the Trojan horse, it's the carrier for the brand message, the thing that makes it unique and persuades you that this brand is better than another brand. Yeah, so apologies for the simplicity, but it's kind of pretty close to the way we go about marketing and the way we believe that people make decisions. This fellow, top right, rather than Homer Simpson, this fellow, Daniel Kahneman's claim to fame is he's the only non-economist to win the Nobel Prize for Economics. He's a psychologist. His name's Daniel Kahneman, and he is the author, along with his colleague, of Thinking Fast and Slow, which is creating, I know it's an overused word, but a bit of a revolution in the understanding of how people make decisions. And what he's put forward is a different model, not left brain, right brain, but system one, system two. This is how the brain is kind of arranged. And system one, and it's one because it was the original brain, it's the older bit of the brain, is the instinctive, intuitive, emotional part of the brain. Yeah? It's the feely bit. System two is basically the cognitive, deliberate, slow part. So the thinking fast and slow is the System 1 fast, System 2 slow. System 1 is the feely bit, System 2 is the thinky bit, if you like. Okay, so far so good. But the bit that got me interested was that if you split it into computing power, System 2, the clever bit, the bit that we praise and we rightfully praise as separating us from other animals, is basically 50 bits of computing power versus System 1, which is the instinctive, feely, intuitive bit, which is 11 million. 50 bits, 11 million. Not only is decision-making not 50-50 rational and emotional, it's not even close. Not even close. It's literally, I'll pop it up on here, but, a summary would be, boy, do we think much less than we think we think. Yeah, the vast majority of decisions by everyone, all the time, are made emotionally, instinctively, intuitively. And guess what we use the System 2 clever bit for? To post-rationalize. And if you think of the quantitative research particularly, you could argue that pretty much the whole edifice is a System 2 gathering of the post-rationalizations of emotional, instinctive decisions which we have less access to, and that's where it can go wrong. So, quick example. I'm going to throw up on the screen some brand logos, which don't actually have the logo, but I'd love you to say out loud if you're in an open space. Don't worry, be brave, or you can say it in your head. But this is the first one. What brand is that? Okay, the second one. Hopefully, these will be triggering lots of lovely brand feelings. Those of you that are in need of a drink, obviously not the US amongst you because it's a little early, but this one. The car nuts, perhaps, will get a little frisson of excitement, with that one. And then finally, if you're feeling a little peckish, again, I think 10 a.m. is a bit early for fried chicken. But I hopefully, even though it's quick, Branding, which we obsess about as a recall, can you remember the brand? It doesn't actually really work like that. It works at a system one. Everything works at a system one pattern recognition level. That's the level at which branding, marketing, advertising, the lot of it works. So we've got system one, fast, instinctive, metaphoric, all the stuff that is not completely unconscious, but it's blink. Yeah, if anyone's read Malcolm Gladwell's Blink, that's what we're talking about. System two, slow, analytical, learned, propositional, etc. All right. So we've got 12 minutes, which gives me 4 minutes sort of per one of these. This is, Brain Juice's attempt, if you like, to wrestle the whole kind of body of behavioral economics, sociology, psychology, literature into a model, which I think just helps actually translate it, into creating marketing, but also into thinking about research techniques and how we need to update them, or how we could or should update them in order to kind of better reflect how people make decisions and better predict what they're going to do. So the 3 areas that are affecting decision making: environmental, social, personal. And I'm going to kind of do a whistle-stop tour. So starting with environmental, this is the world of nudge. Richard Thaler, the UK, number 10 Downing Street, our government even has a nudge department. So this book's been much kind of heralded in terms of social policy, influencing how kids, eating better school meals, or helping people give up smoking and drinking, anti-drinking, etc., etc. And it's really all about the way things are framed, in the environment. And I'll give you a kind of classic experimental example. So this was in a off-license, a wine shop, and for 1 week they basically played French music for a week in the background, And during this week, sales of French wine went up 5 times versus, the run rate that it had been before. 5 times. People, when asked on exit if they, noticed the, liked the music, didn't even notice it. Almost nobody even noticed the music, but it affected which wine they chose. The week after, they then basically did the same, but with German music. This time, sales of German wine went up 2 to 1. So interesting. At a pattern recognition system 1 level, France is more associated with wine than Germany. No one notices the music, but the music had an effect on what people bought. This is big stuff. The one I heard the other day, which was lovely, is Rolls-Royce apparently now don't sell most of their cars out of their car showrooms. Even though they've opened more car showrooms, they sell them at boat shows. Because when you're looking at 10 million quid's worth of boat, $500,000 on a car seems a snip and a bargain. I'll take 2. That's the sort of stuff that the environmental behavioral economics is sort of teaching us, that it doesn't work in the way that we thought it did. I've chosen this one, and I know time is of the essence, but I want to share this one just because pricing, to me, feels so rational. We think of pricing because it's numeric as rational, and people are weighing it up, and is it worth it? What's value for money? It's a calculation. And I just want to share this one because it's so beautiful. So The Economist had basically 2 options. Sorry, the slides got a little bit wobbly. Some of you may know this one, but it's still worth sharing. So you could basically get the online version. It's the same content, but it's online only for $59. Or you could get the online and the paper copy delivered to you for $125. The proportions, as you can see, are basically 70% going for the cheaper option. Then something strange happened, which was an intern, so the story goes, it's always an intern that gets the blame, put in a 3rd option by mistake, which makes no sense at all. So the other 2 options are still there. The 3rd option is that you basically get the print copy for $125. That's the only difference. Not surprisingly, 0 people choose that option. But isn't it interesting what happens to the other 2? Suddenly, 84%, up from 28%, are choosing the more expensive option because it seems a bargain now, because it's better than just getting the paper copy. Pricing doesn't work in the way that I'm afraid our PSMs and research sort of techniques have sort of suggested. And I think that's a whole area to be explored. Now, one quick other example in terms of environment and framing, a practical research example, packaging testing. Pack testing, anyone who's done a lot of it, especially senior marketeers, tear their hair out trying to get kind of quantitative pack tests to kind of perform as predicted in the market. And we had a client who came to us, they were brand leader and their competitor, and they were basically, their problem was that every time they did research, they got this result. Yeah, so classic packaging testing told them that their pack was better, significantly better than the competitor. And yet in market, something else seemed to be happening. So all we did as an experiment was we put people under time pressure, and then a second experiment where we put them under time pressure, so more like the shopping, where they have to make decisions really quickly, and we also distracted them, with announcements or noises and things. It changed the result. Yeah, it's not just significant, it changes which pack is better. And it's closer to the context of shopping. No decision is made without context. And I'm afraid too much market research is system 2 and done out of context. And this, I think, is an example of how we could get closer to the context-based decision making for quantitative research and get closer to predicting and sharing what's actually a good pack and what's not a good pack. All right, social. This is basically the world of copying, as brilliantly kind of captured by Mark Earls in his book The Herd, and his second book with some academics called I'll Have What She's Having, which was from the famous Harry Met Sally scene. This is about copying. It's basically one of the things as social animals we do best. We copy. We should be called Homo mimicus rather than Homo sapien, the thinking one. We're just really good at this stuff, and if you need any proof, surely Crocs are proof positive that we copy rather blindly. In kind of experimental terms, this is a classic example where it was an honesty tray where you were basically putting money in for milk that you were taking, and all they did was change the poster behind the box each week from flowers to eyes, flowers to eyes, flowers to eyes. And you can see, hopefully very quickly, that in the weeks where we feel we're being watched, even though it's by a poster, we're more honest than when it's flowers. And the scary eyes at the bottom, we're particularly honest. This is it. We're social animals. We have reciprocation. We have copying. There's a whole area of social selling. I mean, Amazon are the past masters of this. They are brilliant. People who bought this also bought that. Lists. These are the top 10 sellers. These are the top 100. And they do it in those obvious ways, but also in many other ways on the page. And enabling people to see what other people are doing is a great way to encourage behavior, encourage copying. Yeah. So in research terms, we think of quantitative research, as me research. You must ask me about me. I'm in the target audience or I'm not, and basically we ask people to respond to concepts or adverts, etc. Okay, it makes a lot of sense, and it's come from obviously the kind of political polling days 100 years ago, and it's not that it's wrong. It's just that we are rather unreliable witnesses, or we can be unreliable witnesses to our own sense of ourselves. 50% of Swedish men believe that they are in the top 10% of good drivers, top 10% of drivers. Yeah, can't be. 90% of French men believe they're in the top 10% of lovers, which is always good. And the other example, if you ever want to try and prove this, is get a room of people and say, okay, I want you to tell me about your IQ. I want you to imagine where in this room, if it was from 0 to 100, if everyone was lined up 0 to 100 based on your IQ, where you would come on the scale. And you'll find that almost nobody is under 50%. Yeah, this is the sort of stuff, and it's pretty harmless, but unfortunately, it's not always, therefore, giving us an accurate read of what will happen. So, what we did was say, well, what would we research look like? We're social animals. We're better at other people than we are ourselves. And the IEM, the Iowa electronic market, was the first sort of, the academic predictive market, where basically, 500 mainly middle-aged white guys in Iowa were buying and selling shares in who's going to win, elections. And I think it's now almost 700 elections they've done this over. And in those elections, the IEM, people buying and selling, definitely breaking every golden rule of, quantitative concept testing, predictions, have been more accurate than the most accurate poll 3/4 of the time. That's extraordinary result. You know, it actually is a better way to do it than scientific sampling of people's own personal opinion of how they're going to vote. So if you translate that into concept testing, you take 15 ideas, you basically get 500 people, not the target audience, and you say, basically, would you probably be buying or selling shares in each of these ideas? And then which one would you double and which one would you sell based on which one you think other people would love and hate and why? And to give you a real illustration where this works, we were working for Wrigley. This was bubble gum, where, as you probably know, everything you test with kids gets sky-high scores. Same with ice cream, same with anything in Latin America. And you can see the flatline monadic scores, no significant difference. But when you put it through the predictive market, it really separates wheat from chaff. You really get a sense of which ideas are worth pursuing and not. All right, so that's, and then the last one, personal. This is the world of predictably irrational, the upside of irrationality, and Dan Ariely's latest one, The Honest Truth About Dishonesty, which is a great read, very good fun. The world of decision-making is about how you feel. Yeah, this is the personal side, hot states. And this is, well, I don't know how to describe this experiment other than just to describe it. It was done on undergraduates. You can do things with undergraduates that you can't even do on lab rats these days. They have no rights. And what they did is they got these male undergraduates to answer a battery of questions, yeah? Are women's shoes erotic? Can you imagine having sex with a 50-year-old woman? Would you keep trying to have sex after your date says no, etc.? And you can see the number of people saying, yes to these things. Now, very worryingly, the second column is titled Aroused. Yes, I'm afraid what they then did was they got the group to arouse themselves, to pleasure themselves, and they had the same questions, and the answers were, let's say, significantly higher. How we feel, the state in which we are, makes an enormous difference to how we behave, what we say, what we feel. I'm afraid addictions are, of course, the extreme version of this. Is anyone, gambling, smoking, drinking, whatever it is. But, there's a lighter version of this as well. All right. So just last little bit here in terms of application for research again. How do we measure emotion? If System 1, emotion instinctive intuition, is what it's all about, IATs, implicit association tests, great way, that's good. The other way is just measure emotion. And there are more and more ways of coming out, but this is one that, we've picked up based on Ekman's work, where there are 7 emotions, and you basically translate it, if you like, into which of these faces best express how you feel about the ad, happy, to what degree, why. And just measuring things emotionally, you can then, how you feel is the best predictor of what you'll do. It's better than purchase intention and all of our other usual scales. You can basically put advertising on a 1 to 5 star scale, like films. 1 star would be straight to video. You're going to spend more money making it and airing it than you'll ever get back. You need a 3-star ad to get a positive ROI, but a small one. And it's the blockbusters that are pure emotion that are the ones that you want. Those are the ones, like Cadbury Gorilla, which had an ROI of £1.85 for every pound spent. These are the ads that make commercial success as well as brands famous. Yeah? And if you actually looked at that ad based on traditional metrics on the right-hand side, apologies, way too much on the slide, but the fist of the proposition wrapped in a velvet glove of emotion on the right, the Cadbury Gorilla performed appallingly on easy to understand, how relevant, how persuasive, the usual measures, and very, very well on emotion. There was almost no neutrality, and the green bars there are surprise and happiness. And I'm afraid what we have been measuring for many, many years are 3-star ads. That's what the traditional metrics. And the IPA actually launched today the second round of their, what makes advertising great. Long-term brand success, real profitability is about emotion. It's not about rational messaging, which restricts you to 3-star ads with small ROI at best. It's basically, as you can see from this, I hope with 1 more minute, I think, to go, and then we'll quit. In terms of the very, very best adverts, emotion is what correlates with the very best, biggest commercial impact. Persuasion, cut through, brand linkage, messaging correlate with less commercially successful adverts. The bottom ads here are not bad ads, but they are less commercially successful. Advertising, marketing is about seduction, not persuasion. And I think probably I should stop it there. Emotion is what counts. System one, and I think a whole, hopefully, era of quantitative, not just qualitative, but quantitative tools which think about how people really make decisions, environmental, social, personal, and a whole slew of new techniques and technology to try and get us closer to predicting what people will do and understanding. But emotion is slap bang central to that discussion, I hope. Thank you.